At the time of this recording, Rainbow Six Siege has 34 attacking operators, with the new operator Bravo coming out literally today. So in today's video, what I plan on doing is going over every single attacker in Rainbow Six Siege and listing one mistake that you make with them. I'm willing to bet that you make one of these crucial mistakes and it's probably making you worse at the game. So stick around and let's get into it. Now let's talk about Sledge and Buck, because prominently both these operators are vertical mainly, and a lot of people, when you play vert, they make this one crucial mistake. Let's say you're making vertical right now of Sledge for blue bar. You're going to probably just make this Sledge hole and try to peek it immediately. Now, unless you have immediate information, you should not be doing this. What you should be doing when you're playing vertical, guys, with Sledge or Buck is making the holes and rotating your body. Now, what I mean by this is, as you can tell, I'm not peeking any of these holes and I'm making all the vertical possible before I peek, because what's going to happen is a lot of the times when you peek vertical, you have a high percentage of dying, and that's just the truth. So it's best that you make all the vertical possible and then worrying about peeking afterwards, unless you're trying to get the bandits off or mute jammer or whatever blocking anything on the wall. You shouldn't be immediately peeking. Today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. You can play more than 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships in dynamic combined arms PvP battles. Every vehicle is incredibly detailed and modeled down to their individual components, offering a high immersive combat experience. You can play on PC, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, or the previous console generations. One of my favorite things is the in-depth customization system for vehicles. You can apply 100 of camouflages, place historical markings anywhere on your machines, as well as 3D decorations, such as bushes and equipment. Incredible graphics and detail in 4K resolution, authentic sound effects, and beautiful music, creating an atmosphere to fully immerse yourself in. They also have one of the most dynamic and detailed vehicle damage models in gaming. So you guys go play War Thunder now on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox using my link down below. With this link, you get a large free bonus pack. You get an exclusive decal. You're going to be obtained by new or existing members by following the link down in the description. So guys, go check it out. Link is down in the description. Thank you so much, War Thunder, for the sponsor. With an operator like Thatcher, a lot of you guys think that you're goddamn Tom Brady. What you guys tend to do is you don't wait for your hard breach. You don't have that level of communication where you're like, hey, I'm gonna throw this. Are you ready? And instead, what you guys do is you end up wasting too many EMPs and just throwing them. You guys will literally just chuck all 3 EMPs at the wall before the hard breach isn't even there. So what I'm saying is, wait until your hard breach is in the line of sight where you can actually make the wall opened very quickly, because any good bandit tricker will easily get the stuff off the wall. Ash, this is a funny one, because a lot of the people think that you need to be super aggressive with an operator like Ash, but your positioning is very wrong with this operator. What I tend to see with a lot of these players is you guys just think you need to rush, and that's just not true at all. What you should be doing is you should be taking the first contact, acting off information, and waiting for your teammates' drones. Or on the flip side, what you guys do is you guys play way too passive. It's like you guys don't have a button that just lets you moderately play smart. You guys either play very stupid or you bait your teammates. So act off information, play for the utility, and wait. Now this next tip goes for Thermite and Ace. This is a very common mistake I notice people doing, and Consulate is the best example. Knowing when to pick operators is very important, and a lot of people will pick Ace on Consulate and they will have the most scuffed wall setup and open up triple wall, and it just blocks so many lines of sights. Also, on the flip side, a common mistake I noticed Thermite players making is placing Thermite charges way too close to the far right of the wall or far left. For example, on triple, you get literally not that many good lines of sight. Instead, what you should be doing is opening the direct middle of both sides so you can get the most out of the angles, because with a place like a garage downstairs, you need all the lines of sights possible. You need to be able to peek white, you need to be able to peek office, long hall, yellow, etc. Now let me show you why Ace is a very bad pick on downstairs. I'm not saying Ace is a bad operator, it's just a lot of the times what you guys are going to end up doing here is opening up these 3 walls with the Ace charges, and that's cool and all, but the issue is, as you can tell, you will literally be sitting here on a hard reinforcement having to crouch instead of getting a headshot angle, or you're going to have to be so close up to the wall where you're going to get perspectived. That's awful. And you get the vault prompt if you make it this high. Now you could say you could just double ace charge the middle or the right side, but once again you're limiting all the angles and you're having to decide, hey, I don't want to have this angle now, and it just allows the defenders to play a little bit more defensive and tuck in corners. I feel like Twitch is one of those self-explanatory operators. You're either using her properly or you're an absolute idiot and imbecile. So use her drone. That's literally all I can say. Use her drone. Use your main drone to locate utility if your teammates are not calming, and that's it. Montang, a lot of people tend to just open their shield and put themselves on an island basically, but you need to have a lot of communication to be effective Montang. Montang is one of the better operators if you know how to calm with your teammates and you know how to push properly. So basically calm what you're doing. Don't just drop your shield without telling your teammates. Don't start wiggling because you're gonna get headshotted, and just calm. I don't know what to say about Glass. Like how sit in coastline ruins half the round, you'll pick off like 3 people. That's the best bet. If you're not doing that, you're throwing, I guess. Operator like Blitz, one mistake I noticed people making once again is kind of the same as Montang, is them setting themselves on an island where there's no refrag capability. Make sure your teammates are pushing up with you so you can be as aggressive as possible and they can get a refrag, because enemies are going to start aiming for the floor, for your feet, instead of trying to shoot head level, and that's going to be a huge advantage for your teammates. I really don't have anything else for IQ either. Like, this operator is very self-explanatory. If you're not using the IQ gadget, then once again you're trolling, but just picking IQ is more of a troll than not a lot of the times, because there's operators that do her job better than what she does, which is counter, you know, defender's utility. So like, I don't know, I just wouldn't be picking her that much. Blackbeard, the tip I'd give you is to stop picking Blackbeard. This operator sucks. He is a troll. You probably suck if you have to use a shield on your face, even though the shield sucks. Overall, he sucks. Don't use him. One mistake I noticed with Capital players making is smoking themselves off instead of smoking off the enemy's lines of sight, in which they have to push through, and they would have to push through it blindly. One mistake I noticed a lot of players making when using Hibana is setting her charge to default, which is 6. Now, why I'm saying this is because a lot of the times people aren't using all of Hibana's pellets, and that's fine because you're going to have some circumstances where you're not going to be able to utilize her full kit. But for example, if you're getting a hatch with 6 pellets, you're trolling, because what you should be doing is getting it with 4 and then using the remaining pellets to open up random lines of sights that will make the defenders feel so awkward and so silly. One mistake I noticed with Jackal players is they will immediately scan enemies if the enemies are super close, which, you know, if you know anything about Jackal, you'll know that their feet will be red on the floor if they're very close. So instead, what you should be doing is using that information silently to go and get that frag. One mistake I would say players make with Ying is just not playing her enough, to be honest. Ying is a very good operator because she has the burn capability and so many Candelas that allows her to take so much space quickly and blind enemies in this radius. So if you're not playing Ying, play her, because she's one of the most underrated attackers in the game. One mistake I noticed with Zoph players is that they won't use their concussion for information. When you concuss somebody, that means that they're in that radius. If your concuss goes off immediately, somebody is in that radius. If it's not, then that will allow you to clear an angle very quickly and then take space fast. One mistake I noticed with Dokkaebi players is not saving a call for the remaining seconds of the round when you're going for a plant. What this does is this allows you to make anybody that's dead or anybody that has cams like Echo or Maestro not be able to get on them, and it's forcing them to take a gunfight or wait for you to plant. I feel like Lion is one of those self-explanatory operators as well. Like, you shouldn't be dumping your line scans at the start of a round where your teammates can't really act off the information, and that's what a lot of players do when they pick a Lion, is they immediately throw up a line scan if they see somebody, and it doesn't really do anything, because if your teammates aren't there to collapse off the information, it's just wasted info. One mistake I noticed with Finka players is just not healing their teammates. They will use the Finka charges for themselves, and that's really about it. So just keep in mind what your teammates are doing. Try to look at their HP bar here and there, and heal your freaking teammates, you silly goose. One mistake I would say players make when picking Maverick is only using him for getting hatches and making walls soft. You can make all types of lines of sight that will make the enemies feel very awkward and pressured. So just keep that in mind when using Maverick. One thing I noticed with Nomad players is a lot of them will, for some reason, not drone stuff out before placing air jabs, and they'll end up wasting air jabs because Wamais or ADSs. So just make sure you drone out the vicinity before you place your air jabs. I would say one mistake players make is not picking Gridlock. She's one of the most strong attackers, and people just don't use her because she's 3 armor. And in my opinion, having 1 speed is fine, and I think that they should buff her to be a 2-2, but I feel like she's one of the most underrated attackers, and she's super fun. One thing I would suggest doing is keeping one of her track stringers for post-plant scenarios, so you can place it around the bomb. There's nothing more annoying than having to shoot these little stupid track stringers while you're trying to defuse the bomb. One mistake I would say that players make when they pick Nock is trying to be sneaky too early into the round. Nock's job and what she's strong at is being very stupid and quiet. She can go up staircases, she can be quiet, she does not see on drones or cams. So the best thing that you can do is wait for your teammates to have prominent control of the map. So while they're doing this, you're gonna have to drone them in and just wait for them to take so much space so you can kind of pinch the enemies with your teammates, and they won't really expect a Nock crouch walking up a random staircase. One mistake I would say with Amaru players is just feeling like you need to rush every single round. That's really it. You literally use Amaru to be a normal operator and just have fast rotations. For example, on Cafe, if you were to plant around the bar, you can literally just go back up the skylight really quickly. You don't need to always rush with this operator. One mistake I would say Kali players make is picking Kali over somebody that has pocket EMPs or even Thatcher, because Thatcher's banned 10 times less now. One thing I would say about Yana players, the mistake you guys make is cloaking out in the open with no cover. A lot of times I've seen players really just throw out a Yana cloak and they just get swung because they're being idiots. They're being in the open, there's a door open, and nobody's there to cover them. You can fake a lot of the times with your Yana cloak, but it takes a lot of practice, so just keep that in mind. I would say the mistake you're making with Zero is not picking Zero enough. I feel like going into the season, we're going to see a lot more Zero played because he got like kind of a silent buff if that did come to the live patch, which when you shoot his cams, it doesn't immediately go through a wall. A lot of times people just are silly and they just don't use the zero cams. Shooting zero cams for flanks or just common entryways is very strong, especially when you die. You can give constant intel for your teammates. The mistake I see a lot of Floors players make is either not using all of his drones or using his drones too quickly and wasting them by getting muted or just too premature in the round. You should use one of your drones so you can actually locate where the utility is, so you can get into a smarter position so you can use the Flores drones. One mistake I noticed Osa players making is solo pushing with her shield and trying to be a Montang. You could do this. This is a really smart tactic when you have teammates around you, because you're able to clear corners very quickly and not have to say you guys don't have drones. It's a smart tactic, but once again, you have to have the communication factor to really execute that. One thing I would say players make with sense, one mistake, is just not knowing how their gadget really works. Go into a T-hunt, see how their gadget works, and understand why you're doing what you're doing with their gadget. I would say one mistake players make is just picking Grim in general. Right now, he's a very underwhelming operator. He can be good, just like you can make any attacker good, but to be honest, I think he just sucks. He's a very underwhelming operator. He's very cool looking, but they need to aggressively buff him at the moment of this recording. One mistake I would say people make with Bravo, from what I've seen so far in the TS, is just not utilizing just Bravo's normal drones so you can actually locate where the regular utility is, instead of just blindly pushing your drone in and then immediately getting it shot. These drones are very effective and they do so much, so just utilize them a little bit more, guys. Anyways, guys, so this is one mistake you make with every single attacker in Rainbow Six Siege. If you guys enjoyed the video and found some type of value, make sure that you guys like, sub, and comment, and thank you so much.